All right, everybody, today we're dealing with quadratics by taking square roots intro to try to stay awake while you're working through this. Right now, in your journal, you should have put x squared plus 7 equals 4 to 3, just like that. Okay, just do it just like that. Now, when we're dealing with square roots, like how do we solve with square roots? Here's something you guys should kind of know. Ready? If I say, hey, what's the square root of 25? You guys should know that that's equal to a what? Yes, it's a 5. Very good. Okay. But here's a trick. If I say x squared equals 25. Now, there's technically two numbers I could plug in for x. Could anybody tell me one of the two numbers I could plug in for x to make it true? -5 would work because -5 times -5 is a 25. And the easy number that we can always find is just what? Just the number 5. So we call this a solution set. So whenever you're having to solve this, okay, if you're having to solve x squared equals 25, technically you would have to take what's called the square root of both sides. And you get x equals, but key thing, instead of just putting a 5, put plus or minus 5, because technically a negative times a negative could still equal that positive 25. Now, some students are doing a really good job of paying attention, and others are having conversations among themselves, but we already know who those guys are. All right. So yeah, it's the two guys. They'll be the old guys, the puppet, the Muppets that in the balcony. Oh, 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 oh. Yeah, I'm literally teaching them right now as they're young. I can totally see. I forget the names of the two. Google. Hey, somebody Google the old men in the balcony. No, not those. I can't say your names, but we're gonna call you guys this. All right, from now on. So right now we need to solve this. So step number 1, guys. Step number 1. What I'd like you to do is simply to take away a 7 from this side. Oh, wait, hold on. We're gonna write them down. Say it again. So it's S-T-A, is it D? T? Statler and other one? Waldorf? Is it Waldorf? Statler and Waldorf. Okay, so listen. You're Waldorf, you're Statler. Statler and Waldorf. That's your new nicknames, okay? Statler goes with the student name that goes with S. Waldorf goes with the L. All right? Statler and Waldorf. Got it. Waldorf. All right. So here we go. Now, we're going to subtract 7 from both sides. When we subtract 7 from both sides, we get x squared equals 36. I know the answer. I know the answer. Close. It's actually what? Plus or minus 6. So what's the lesser? -6. What's the greater? +6. That's what you guys are going to type into the Khan Academy. -6 and +6. Okay, we're going to do one more. All right, we'll do one more and see if you guys see if this makes sense. If we get a harder one, the next one, that's fine. Right now, you guys, first thing I want you to do is please put f of x equals that. That's step number 1. After you've written this down, put 0 equals 5x squared minus 20. So put 0 equals 5x squared minus 20. Okay. Step number 1. What we're going to do is we're going to add 20 to this side. And we're going to add 20 to the other side. So we're going to get 20 equals 5 times x squared, because that zeroes out. Next step, divide both sides by 5. These cancel to a 1. What's 20 divided by 5? 4. So we get what? X squared equals the number 4. So what's our final and last step with this? Take the what? Square root, and x equals plus or minus 2. So for the lesser, we're going to put -2. For the greater, we're going to put +2. And those are going to be our answers. All right, so we're going to go ahead and type these in and go on to the next one. So we got the lesser was a -2, the greater was a +2. Nailed it. Okay, let's do another one. Going through these relatively quickly. All you got to, oh my goodness, one of my students has this one. I have a feeling she's going to be watching me. All right. So the first step, take away 1 from both sides. So we get 6x squared. Hey, Statler, quiet down. Equals 486. Divide both sides by 6. I have a calculator, so I'm just going to do that. Oh, it is? Student told me it was 81. All right, so we get x squared equals 81. And the final step, what do I do? Take the square root, and I get x equals plus or minus 9. Plus or minus 9. So I'm going to put a negative 9 here and a positive 9 here. Just make sure when you do it, put the lesser where the lesser is and put the greater where the greater is. Otherwise, you'll get them wrong. All right, last one. Find the zeros of the function. Okay, here we go. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put 0, because we want f of x to equal 0. So 0 equals negative 3x squared plus 75. Now, I don't know if you guys knew you could do this, but instead of subtracting 75 from both sides, watch what I'm going to do to make my life a little bit easier. I'm going to add 3x squared to both sides. Can you do that? Yes! Yes, you can. Sorry, just thinking of the movie Elf right there. Makes me happy. Then we're going to divide both sides by 3. And we get x squared equals 25. Then we take the square root of both sides. And x equals plus or minus 5. So I'm going to put a negative 5 and a positive 5. I'm going to call it a day for this one. But we got more to do. Negative 5, positive 5. Nailed it. Okay, so we're done with that. All right, so the next thing we're going to be talking about is quadratics by taking square roots, but this is not the intro. This is going to be a little bit more complicated. So this is going to be x plus 5 squared minus 64 equals 0. So this is going to be our next section. All right, guys, before we get started, I want you guys to understand what we're about to do is basically the exact same process. But I want you to think. Right now, we have what? X plus 5 being squared. Before, we just had just an x squared. Now we have a binomial being squared. So we have a binomial being squared. So what the first step is, I want you to isolate the binomial that is being squared. What's the binomial? This x plus 5. So what I want you to do first is to take this 64 and add 64 to both sides of the equal sign. And please do it expeditiously so we don't have to take all day long. So this right here zeroes out. Here's what you're left with. You're left with x plus 5 that's being squared equal to the perfect square, also known as the number 64. Now, once you guys get this binomial that is being squared equal to a number, then you are allowed to take the square root of both sides. Now, the square root of this, guys, is literally just the binomial x plus 5. The square root of 64 becomes plus or minus 64. Okay, so this is where it becomes very important that you guys see the process here. Hopefully you guys understand that the square root of 64, when we're solving an equation, it becomes a plus or a minus. Now, when we're solving for x, we do the same process. We have to take away 5 from this, and we have to take away 5 from this. So here's what I want you to write down. Over here, we're left with just the x. Over here, we're left with plus or minus a 64 minus 5 more. Now, what do we do with this plus or minus? This is going to be the easy part. One of them, I want you to do the equation. Ready? X equals 64 minus 5. And the other one, I want you to put x equals negative 64 minus 5. So put the plus 64 minus 5 and put the minus 64 minus 5. All right, so right now, we just subtract these. When we subtract these, what do we get? 59. And what do we get here? Negative what? So what I want you guys to understand, we have our lesser and we have our greater. This is the greater, this is the lesser. All right? Now, I'm going to be doing more than one of these examples. So if that didn't make sense, please look carefully as we do the next one. So we have negative 69 and positive 59. Negative 69. Oh, wait. Yeah, that's right. Wait a second. Did I forget to take square root? Oh, oh my gosh. That was a close one. I totally messed that up. Hold on. No. Stop. Hold on. By the way, that's supposed to be plus or minus 8. I don't know what I was thinking. So this becomes plus or minus 8. That was, wow, that was a big foible. Yeah, it's okay. My apologies. All right. Because, like, wait a second. That's not right. All right, here we go. I know. I had too much coffee this morning. All right, so here we go. We have 8 minus 5 and negative 8 minus 5. That's going to make it a lot better answer. We got a 3 and a negative 13. 3 and negative 13. So right now, it's okay to listen. For some reason, I don't know why I didn't take the square root of that and do it correctly, but for some reason my brain wasn't working. But before you type your answer in, you can always check yourself to make sure your answer is going to make sense. So let's try it again. Negative 13 and positive 3. When I was typing my answers in, I was plugging them in going, wait a second, that's not going to work. All right. So, all right. So right now, let's do the next one, and I promise this one I will actually do correctly all the way through from beginning to end. All right, here we go. X plus 8 being squared minus 7 equals 0. Okay? Now this one's going to be a little bit trickier because it says we're going to round to 2 decimal places. So I want to make sure you guys understand what it means to round to 2 decimal places. Step number 1. What I'd like you to do is I would like you to add 7 to both sides. When you add 7 to both sides, here's what you're left with. You're left with x plus 8 being squared equals to a positive 7. Then, once you have this binomial being squared, once you have it totally by itself, then and only then do I want you to take the square root of both sides. And this time, could you put plus or minus the square root of 7 right here? Put plus or minus the square root of 7. Here, I just want you to put x plus 8. All right, we have 2 more steps, and that's it. Now, we just take away 8 from this side. We take away 8 from this side. So this zeroes out. So my answers for x are going to be x equals plus or minus that radical 7 minus 8. So we have 2 answer choices. All right, one answer choice, we're going to take the positive 7 and we're going to take away positive square root of 7, take away 8. The other one, we're going to do the negative radical 7 and we're going to take away 8. So we need to find the answer choices to both. Now these are considered to be the exact answers. What we're going to do is we're going to find what's called the approximate answers. These are the exact answers. These are going to be the approximate. So in your calculator, what I want you to do is I want you to take second x squared, which gives you the radical, put in a 7. Make sure you put a right arrow and put minus 8. Okay? And you get negative 5.35. So I'm going to put negative 5.35. The next one, I want you to take negative radical 7 minus 8. So the next one we're going to do is negative radical 7. Make sure you hit the right arrow and put minus 8. If you forget, here's our other answer. If you forget to put the right arrow, look what happens. If I put a negative, and then I put radical 7, but I just put minus 8, look what happens. It stays all inside the radical. We don't want that to happen. Okay? So if you did that, you'd get non-real answers. So I'm just going to put go to, clear that out, scroll back up. Here's our other answer, negative 10.65. So put negative 10.65. This is our lesser. This is our greater. Once again, what do we call these two answers? We call them our exact answers. If this was in a solution set in your journal, put negative radical 7 minus 8, comma, radical 7 minus 8, close parentheses. This would be your solution set that you might see in a multiple choice answer. All right, so you might have a multiple choice test where you have to find the exact answers, and that would be what you would see as a multiple choice. Here, we're just trying to find what's called the approximate answers. All right, so I'm going to type these in, negative 10.65 and negative 5.53. Negative 10 point, what was it, 65? Negative 10.65, and what was the other one? Negative 5.35. All right. All right, so I have a student that has a more difficult one, they say, so I'm going to have him tell me what it is. This will be the last one we do. Okay, so there we go. All right, so this is the last one we're going to do. It's very, very easy. All you have to do, first step, is just to take that 10 and add it to both sides, okay? Just add that 10 to both sides. Now, what are you left with? You're left with this x plus 15 being squared equals a positive 10, because these zeros out. Once you get this binomial by itself that's being squared, then and only then do I want you to take the square root of both sides. Now, underneath this square root of 10, just put plus or minus radical 10, because you can't simplify that. It's not a perfect square. Underneath this guy, just put x plus 15. What I want you guys to understand is before we were doing this, right? We had like x squared equal to 49. We take the square root of both sides. We get what? X equals plus or minus 7 and b. Done. We're doing the same process. Whatever's inside this parentheses being squared, it's just going to come out when you take the square root. So what will be our final step? Our final step is just to do what? Take away 15 from this side and take away 15 from this side. So this is your answer, guys. It's plus or minus radical 10 minus 15 more. But you have to separate that into two answers. One answer is going to be radical 10 minus 15. The other one's going to be negative radical 10 minus 15. This will be an approximate answer, and this will be an approximate answer. So what I want you guys to have in your journal is to know how to take this and do what? Separate it into two answer choices. So I'm going to type it in, and I'm going to write my final answers in this box and in this box. The square root of 10 minus 15. All right. Oh, wrong. Okay, let me clear out. Square root of 10, and it was what? Minus 15? And then the other one was negative square root of 10 minus 15. So you see these two answers right here? So one of them is what? Negative 11.84. Negative 11.84. And the other one was negative 18.16. Negative 18.16. So this is the lesser. Ready? That's the lesser. This is the greater. So I'm going to type those in, and then I'm stopping the video. I'm just going to be helping my students. Negative 11.84 and negative 18.16. All right. Oh, can't type it in because that's not my question. That was funny. Oh, well. Okay, my bad. All right, so here's the last one. It's going to be pretty easy. All it is going to be 0 equals x minus 8 squared minus 9. I'm going to add 9 to both sides. So I have 9 equals x minus 8 being squared. Then I have to take the square root of both sides. This becomes plus or minus 3 equals x minus 8. And then I just add 8 to both sides. So my answers are going to be x equals plus or minus 3, and then I'm adding an 8. So here's just a quick way of doing it if you wanted to do it in your head. What is 3 plus 8? 3 plus 8 is 11. And negative 3 plus 8 is 5. So I'm going to choose the numbers 5 and 11. And that's it. 5 and 11. And that's it. Hope this was helpful.